Good morning, guys. Didn't realise it wasn't on the screen there. Good morning. Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. This is your Rangers news channel. Welcome to everyone who is joining us this Wednesday morning. Yes, it's Wednesday, the 11th of September. People obviously joining us, say hello in the live chat. Obviously, bring your questions, bring your responses. Today, we're going to talk a little bit in this morning's podcast about the CEO search. We're going to talk about the board. We're going to talk about the fact that Rangers are still missing several key appointments. We're going to miss it. What is really missing from this club at the moment? A club that is badly in need of rebuilding, a club that is badly in need of modernising, a club that is badly in need of sorting out into some semblance of order. I mean, if I look at Rangers now, and I look at the way that we are run, the way that we are organised, the way that everything goes about, it just a lot of the time smacks of amateurism. It smacks of Sunday League. It smacks of just gross incompetence. I woke up early this morning, about 5 a.m. I was having a little look through some of the management structures of some of the big clubs in the EPL and looking at how they're run and looking at, the organisation of the likes of Manchester United and Manchester City, of Arsenal, of Liverpool. And there just seems to be more organisation, in what is done. There is more, clear management philosophy. There is more clear, real direction from the top. And I think it's all stuff that we are very badly missing at this club at this moment in time. We're going to talk a little bit about that this morning. Good morning to Shug. Good morning to Dado. Morning, Jimmy. How are we doing? Airwolf says Celtic invest 1.5 million, get 20 mil plus back on O'Reilly. We pay 6 million on Danilo and get a dud. Morning, Scott. Malky says, good morning, troops. Morning, Malky McClellan. How are we this morning, guys? Right, so let's have a little look at this. Jimmy's okay. Good to hear, Jimmy. Good. I'm glad you're okay. Look, I think we've got to kind of reflect. Morning, Grant. How are you, Grant Wills, this morning? How is everything with you this morning, Grant? I hope you're all good. Well, I think, look at the club and we reflect where we are as a club at this moment in time. And I really feel that it's not just since 55 that we've got to kind of look at what's gone wrong at this club. It's since 2012. 2012 was obviously the doomsday for Rangers. It was just a complete disaster. It was just a complete, nightmare for the club in terms of where we were, what happened, and the fact that it actually, though, gave us an opportunity to reset. It gave us an opportunity to recreate ourselves, to put ourselves right, to put ourselves in the position, where things could be changed, in a position where we could actually put a modern structure into place, where we could run this club properly. We could run this club like a modern 21st century business, a modern 21st century club. I think that's the issue we've got at this moment in time. And I agree with Grant as well. The scouting at this club is utterly diabolical. The use of the youth structure is utterly diabolical. Seen a post today that Clement looks like a shaved Homer Simpson, for fuck's sake. Now I can't unsee it. Lol. Scott says, fine, I'll be better with victory after Sunday, as will we all, mate. As will we all. Look, I think the situation is a very bad situation at all levels of the club, whether you take it from the board down to the recruitment department, down to the managerial department, down to, the whole situation. It is just really poor at Rangers at this moment in time. And I think, if you look across the club at this moment in time, we've got so many vacancies in top positions. And you kind of look at it and think, how can you run a club efficiently? How can you run a club effectively when you're missing a CEO, when you're missing an academy director? We've got head of academy in Zurab Almiron. Almiron is the head of coaching, the head of the management side of it, but there is no actual person above him. There's no director of academy. I think what we're thinking there is, the same way that you have a director of football, there is no director of academy in place. And I think that is something we are clearly missing at this moment in time, a director of academy. I think we're missing a sporting director as well, someone who can oversee the whole situation, someone who can, kind of pull the whole thing together a little bit, who can kind of, run the whole football show. That is missing as well. I think, we need to perhaps, be very specific in Coppen's role. Coppen is not a football director. He's a director of recruitment. So, his role is very much around scouting, recruitment, bringing in players. That's where he is is at this moment in time. So I do think that's something else we need to talk about. Clement looks like a manager and will be a great manager if he gets backed by the board and fans, says Scott. Shug says not Owen. He's talking about Char. Who's Char? I keep seeing this name come up. Who is this Char geezer who allegedly is from Alabama in the United States of America, Alabama, where they marry their sisters. Anyway, let's talk this through. So if we start with the board, now people have talked a lot about the board. They've talked about new investment. They've talked about, the fact that what we need is new investment into the football club. Now, the only way that for me that new investment would work into the football club would be if that investment took the basis of like the Ineos investment into Manchester United. I watch a lot of Mark Goldbridge. I'm a big fan of Mark Goldbridge. I would love to be the Mark Goldbridge of Rangers. I mean, I love Mark Goldbridge. I think he's brilliant. I think the fact he doesn't give a monkeys, the fact that he has his own unique takes, I think is absolutely superb. But there's a lot of, for me, common themes between Manchester United and Rangers. I see a lot of similarities between the two clubs. Now, obviously, new investment. Now, the new investment would work if we allowed whoever the new investor is to kind of take an overarching authority over the club the same way that Ineos have done. Ineos have taken over in terms of the fact they have a 25% stake and the Glazers still have the majority of the stake. But, in terms of how they run, Ineos are taking a lot more of the footballing decisions now. They're putting in place the footballing structure. They're the ones putting in place the director of footballs. They're the ones taking all those decisions. So I honestly believe that for me, we do need to look at, is there a system we can bring in if there is new investment where those new investors can have more of a controlling stake of this football club? I think that is the best way forward. Now, that's the unideal situation for me. I personally would like to see us go and get someone to buy us out. I think personally we need a whole new overview. I think we need a whole new a whole new start with the team. In terms of the fact we need a new board, we need a complete new board, we need a new investment, we need a new way of running the club. And for me, they don't need to be Rangers fans. I don't care if they're Rangers fans, if they're Manchester United fans, Liverpool fans, Atlanta United fans, Real Madrid fans. As long as they come in and they actually, run the club with the interests of the club, with the interests of the fans, with the interests of the players at heart. I honestly believe that is the way forward. That is the best way forward, to get some new investments, some new blood, people who actually know what they're doing with a football club into the club, and be obviously more attractive investment. Now, I was listening to an interview the other day on an American website, on an American podcast, and they were talking about Rangers investment. They were talking about the fact that there was the rumours of two parties of Americans being involved in trying to buy out Rangers. One was obviously dismissed, that we know Dave King has dismissed it. Now, apparently there is still a group, allegedly, that are looking at a buyout of Rangers, an American investment. Now, I know that American investors don't always carry the best reputations, but for every Gillette and Hicks, for every bad example of American investment, there are good examples of American investment into football clubs. You look at the way that Liverpool are not. I know FSG are not the most popular of owners down south, but FSG have done a good job with Liverpool. They've got a good manager in place. They've invested in the team. I know some Liverpool fans don't like FSG, but I know Liverpool fans that do like FSG. But if you look at how FSG have built Liverpool up from back up, and they've won a league title with them. Every season Liverpool are competing. Every season Liverpool are in the Champions League or the Europa League, mostly the Champions League. Every season Liverpool are in contention. Every season Liverpool are buying new players. So I think FSG have done a good job. Stan Kroenke, who is the owner of Arsenal, has done a good job with Arsenal. I honestly believe that we've got a situation where, if an American group consortium wants to buy the club out, then I say we let them. I don't think it is a bad thing. I think some of the anti-Americanism I see on X, some of the anti-Americanism I see on some of the pods, Rangers pods, is bang out of order. The Americans have the capital, they have the money, they have the sports know-how. especially as a lot of these investment groups that come from the States own American sports franchises. You know, you look at Kroenke, he owns the St. Louis Blues, he owns the Denver Broncos. You look at FSG, they own the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Boston Red Sox. You know, there's a lot of groups. The guys that own Leeds own the San Francisco 49ers. You know, there's a lot of American investment groups who have a lot of sports expertise coming from the States of how to run what their franchises out there. They're not so much clubs, but if we can harness that American investment, harness some way of getting the Americans involved with the club, then that for me would be spot on, because like I said, they bring a lot of expertise. You look at the NFL, you look at the NHL, you look at the NBA, you look at those organizations, and you look at how they run things. Their income revenues are higher than most sports franchises around the world. Their marketing is very successful. Their pulling of crowds is very successful. Their money generation is very successful. So if they can bring some of that to Rangers, that for me would be the perfect storm. So I do believe at the top of the club, if we get a new investment, it has to be on the basis of a buyout, complete buyout, or if it is a new investment, it is a case where we allow that new investor to have a substantial stake in the club and actually run the club. So that's the first thing that's really got to happen. But I believe that underneath that, there is a structure that needs to be put back in place with this club. John Hanna says about having a sports psychologist. I think that's a good move. When is he supposed to scout when running Rangers? We'll talk about the manager in a minute. How much wages does a good CEO cost? Probably a lot. Scott says he needs a psychiatrist. Yeah, supporting Rangers, you do, mate. Apparently, Campbell isn't even fully fit to start for Blackburn. Jamie Reed loves the new intro. Jimmy Simpson says in the live chat, he says, new Edmiston House cost 12 million and the work on the stadium was about the same money should be spent on the team. Agreed. Make Rangers great again says we're not in the same boat as Liverpool. Though I'm not saying we're the same as Liverpool. What I'm saying is the way that FSG run Liverpool is the way that we should be looking at an investment group to come in and run Rangers. Yes, we aren't the same. Look, I 100% understand that as a football club, we are not in the same position as Arsenal, as Liverpool, Manchester United, Manchester City, Chelsea, Aston Villa, any of those groups. You know, we are not in that position because of the fact that the EPL is a vastly different animal. The EPL generates huge sums of money, massive sums of money. So for me, yeah, I agree. We're not in the same money league or the same league as any of those clubs down south. I agree with that 100%. What else have we got? Matt, hello, how you doing? Derek says FFP will hamper any rebuild. Benefactor, it will, mate. I'll be honest with you though, Derek. There is ways around FFP. We've seen that this week, that there is ways around FFP. You move accounting periods, you give long-term contracts, you kick wages down the line. You know, there is ways of overcoming FFP. We've seen, you know, with Chelsea, how you overcome FFP. You've seen with Arsenal, how you overcome FFP. So there is ways and means around FFP. 100%. Get some comment here. You know, FFP would stop spending to some degree, but it would not stop all the spending. Like I said, there are ways to structure around FFP. We've seen that with the clubs down south, how you structure it. And we've seen it with Real Madrid. To some degree, there is a way to do that. Yeah. So we've got Stuart's been in Iceland this week. Wow, fantastic. Lot annoys me. 12 million for Edmiston House. The fans built it paying 150 quid a brick, says Scott. Matt says here, amateurs running a big club. Mate, I agree with you. It is amateurs running a big club. And that is part of the issue, is that we've got an amateur board trying to do a job with, you know, with this football club. And this football club is very badly run at this moment in time. There is no clear structure in place. There is no clear management structure in place. We are missing people to run this club. We are missing an overall direction, structure, and we are really missing all those things. Now, the structure I would love to see put in place is something along the lines of this. Now, we've heard, obviously, we'll talk about the CEO business in a minute, but the chairman and board obviously are, you know, really important. The chairman and board are over everybody. They're the investors. They're the people who come in to oversee the club. But under that, we need a CEO. Okay, we need a CEO. We need to bring in a CEO. And I'm going to talk about these different stages properly in a minute. But this is a structure that I've sort of experimented with and had a look at. So we have a CEO under the board. The CEO is directly responsible for running the business side of the club. and is directly responsible for running the football side of the club. He has an overarching authority, an overarching management authority over business and football. Very much the way that Ferran Soriano does at Manchester City, for example. Very much the way that Paul Mitchell does at Newcastle United. Very much the same way that Berardi does at Manchester United. These guys have got to have an overall control over both sides. The business side to bring in money, to bring in revenue streams, to look at sponsorship deals, to look at kit deals, to look at all the ways of getting money into the club, and also the football side of it, of building a successful football product. And that's what the CEO needs to be responsible for. I believe then we need a sporting director who oversees has more control over the footballing side of the business. So someone who is above Niels Coppen, someone who can control Niels Coppen's activities and the scouts' activities, someone who is over the football board, that's the scouts, that's Craig Robertson, someone who is over the academy and can provide a way of linking and communicating between recruitment, the football board, the men's first team and the academy to take a joined up approach from all four elements there, from the recruitment, the scouting, the manager and the academy. So all four elements of that club are working in the same way, are using the same shapes, the same formations, the same tactics, the same training methods, all those things to bring this club through, and move this club forward. Then under that, you've got the manager and his coaching staff. Now, I do believe that Phil Clement, is as a manager, we're seeing more and more now, and I think we need to get away from this, that whilst the manager clearly signs off on players, he is not the man who buys players. The manager, it should not be the manager who is buying the players anymore. If you look at the successful European clubs, Real Madrid, Carlo Ancelotti does not have the end say in buying players. He signs off on them, yes, or he signs off on keeping them, but he does not actually sign the players. The players are signed by the director of recruitment and the sporting director. Okay, that's how that works. PSV Eindhoven, Voss is not, or Boss, whatever he's called, is not the guy who signs the players. The players are signed by the scouting director and the director of football. So we don't want a situation where the manager is buying the players, because if you've got a manager buying the players, you've got a situation where we are constantly having a change of players when the manager changes. You need a set of players in there that are bought in to match what we are doing, our philosophy as a football club. And that's where the sporting director comes in. That's where the academy comes in. That's where the football board comes in. That's where the director of recruitment comes in putting a philosophy, a way of playing, a style of playing, a ethos with training, an ethos with player progression, an ethos with player pathways from the academy to develop these players through into the first team. We need that ethos. The coach, the head coach, not a manager. I think we've got to get away from the fact that a manager is a manager now. A manager, the days of having a Walter Smith, a Graham Souness running the football club, buying the players, signing the contracts, doing the deals, that is over. That doesn't work anymore. Guardiola, Ancelotti, Arteta, Arne Slot, what makes them very successful is that they have one focus and one focus only. That is picking the team, coaching the players, putting in place a style, a formation, a shape, a set of tactics, getting the team ready for a match day. That's their only job. Their job is not to go out and buy a player, to negotiate a contract, to extend someone's deal. That's got nothing to do with those managers. They are there solely to coach and improve the team. And if you are bombarding your manager with signing players, looking at contracts, going out and scouting, going out and meeting players, but in this modern day, you are overwhelming that manager. You need to give him one role. Now, I was listening to an interview the other day that Arne Slot, Liverpool manager, gave, a Liverpool head coach gave, and he was asked about the contracts of Virgil van Dijk, of Trent Alexander-Arnold, and of Mo Salah, and rumours of a Luis Diaz contract. And he said, that's got nothing to do with me. That is for Michael Edwards, and I can't remember the other guy's name at the club. That's their business. They deal with that. That's got nothing to do with me. I coach the team. I develop the team. I get the style on the pitch. That's it. And that's what we need at Rangers. We need a situation where Philippe Clement has one job and one job only. And his job is to get the team out, picked and on the pitch. Not to worry about who's coming in. Not to worry about who he's going to sign next. Not to go and scout players. That's Coppen's job. That's a sporting director's job. That's a football board's job. That's a chief scout's job. That's not Clement's job. Clement's job is to coach the players he's got to develop a squad. That's what he needs to do. Let's have a look at some comments now we've got here. Can't keep saying it's a big club when it's run with a small club mentality. That's the issue, and this is what I'm trying to get away from, Derek. This is why I'm trying to emphasize this new philosophy, this new way we need to modernise. Out of that lot, we only seem to have a manager. Says Scott, big clubs are built on history, not money. For a long time, there was no money in football. You've done it for the love. True, Matt, but unfortunately now, football is all about money. That's the issue. Football is a massive, massive global business. Football is a multi-billion pound business now. That is the way it is, unfortunately. 100%. We got, how many starts did he have in 23 minutes per goal? About Danilo. We will talk about Danilo properly later, guys. But Danilo does not have... We'll talk about players later. We'll do squad review later. We'll talk about podcast later. I want to talk more about the management structure, the way we're going as a football club at this moment in time. So for me, we do need to put in place that side of the operation. Now, alongside all of that, you do need a very well-developed sports science medical department that can look after the welfare of the players. And that, for me, is missing. Now, when I was going through and looking at top clubs down south, and I think this is an interesting one to look at, is the top clubs down south and how they're run, because they really are the models now for the way forward in football. The Manchester Cities, the Manchester Uniteds, the Arsenals, the Liverpools, the Aston Villas, the Tottenhams of this world. That's the model of how things should be done now. Manchester City have got a performance analysis coach. They've got a player support director. They've got a set piece specialist. They've got so many different positional coaches and positional people who, we need to have, and we need to look at Rangers. We need to look at, for me, how we can bring that in as well. We need to look at the coaching setup. So for me, the first thing is, that we've obviously found out this morning that Jim Gillespie, who is the vice chairman at St Mirren, is not interested in becoming, has pulled out of the role, the chance of becoming this Rangers CEO. So that's fine. He doesn't want the job anymore. But for me, the issue we've got here with the CEO is that John Bennett said 9 weeks ago that we were on the verge of getting a new CEO. 9 weeks. That's over 2 months ago now. And we are still no nearer. It's stalled. There is no candidates in place. As far as I'm hearing, there is nobody been interviewed. There is nobody out there at this moment in time that we're here. Now, we are fast approaching a time where, and this is going to seem a really silly thing to say, but we are fast approaching a time where we're going to need to start planning the January transfer window. As soon as you hit November, December, that's when you start your planning for January. And there is no CEO again. There is nobody overarching authority again. And that is now falling on who? John Bennett again. Now, I think we've seen from this summer transfer window, from this summer rebuild, that John Bennett could not run a bath. He just is not good enough in terms of running the club. And now, are we again going to go into January where John Bennett is the CEO? John Bennett is the guy running the club, where he's down in London. He's doing a dreadful job of running the club. He doesn't speak. When he does speak, he just makes things a whole lot worse. John Bennett is so bad he makes Keir Starmer look efficient. He really genuinely does. This is the issue we've got now. For me, this club now should be pulling out absolutely all stops to go and get a new CEO, to find someone who can come in, who has a football knowledge, a football intelligence, to actually run this football club. And I don't want to see someone from a little tiny club like St Mirren, or a little tiny club like St Johnstone, or a little tiny club down in England. What I want to see is someone who's got big club experience, who's got experience of running football clubs, experience of actually the football business. Someone, like I said, like an Adrian Bevington would be an excellent appointment. Someone, like that would be someone who could really come in and make a difference, in terms of what he's done. You look at someone like Ferran Soriano, who's the Manchester City's chief executive. This guy is a guy who cut his teeth working for Barcelona. This is where he grew. And I'm not saying we go out and get someone from Barcelona, but what I'm saying is when Manchester City appointed Soriano in 2012 as their CEO, he had all the experience of working with a massive football club like Barcelona. This is what we need, is someone who has big club experience, who has the experience to deal with a big club, to know how to market a big club, to know how to build brand Rangers across the world. You know, that's what we've got to do. That's what we need. We need someone out here to come in and make a massive difference to this football club. You know, this is the issue. Grant says here, he says, who would want the job knowing there's no financial backing? Certainly not anyone worth their salt. And this is the whole issue we need to have in terms of, we need an investment. We need someone to come in and invest in the football club to move this club forward. Now, two of the directors, apparently, no names yet as to who these directors are willing to sell their shares in the club. Okay. So two directors. I think one of them is Dave King. I'm not sure who the other one is. Now, if they could sell somewhere in the region of 25%, 26% of the business, then that would give that person a controlling stake. That would make that person the biggest shareholder in the club and give them more control over the club. So that for me would be a good way to get some new investment into the business. I mean, preferably, I'd like someone to come in and buy Rangers out lock, stock and barrel, to take out the Park family, to take out Halstead, to take out Johnston, to take out all those people, get rid of them, bring in a completely new board, bring in a completely new structure. That for me is what I'd love to see. I don't think it's going to happen in the short term. In the long term, maybe, but not in the short term. So yeah, I do think investment and backing is very, very, very important for this football club. And I think a restructure is very important. And for me, like I said, we need a number of key positions addressing and filling before we actually start to move forward as a football club. At the moment, we are not moving forward as a football club. We are standing still because we are in a position where we have got lots of key roles that are not filled. Lots of direction is missing from this football club, and that is the issue. These are the three key positions I feel need to be filled: a CEO, a sporting director, and a director of academy. Once we get those three in place, then we can start to look forward to move forward off the pitch as well as on the pitch. Stephen Fay says in the live chat, well, sack Bennett and everything will be all right, Owen, because he's the only one that you mentioned when you talk about the board. So Bennett must be he's not the only one. Stephen Fay, how many times do I mention the Park family? How many times have I talked about Douglas Park and Graham Park? You know, for me, the Park family are one of the other biggest problems at this football club. You know, if we could get rid of Bennett and Park, then that for me would be a real move forward as a football club. I'm not, in terms of the board, Stephen, if you actually go back and look at what I've said in the past, I have talked not only about John Bennett, but I have talked about the Park family and what an absolute disaster Douglas Park is, his son is in this football club. You know, it's like having Del Boy, Rodney and Trigger run the club. It really is. You know, you've got John Bennett as Del Boy, you've got Douglas Park as Rodney and Graham Park as Trigger. I mean, I think that is really, you know, where we are as a football club, and that's insulting to Del Boy, Rodney and Trigger. It really is. Grant says your Bennett King should sell up if they're not prepared to put their cash in. Says Grant, agreed. King is the biggest shareholder, Scotty is, and I think King, you know, King is a person who, you know, has said that in the past that he will sell his shares, and I think, you know, that King is someone who does want to get out of the football club, and I think, you know, there's these rumours that there are two directors that want to sell their shares. King, I think, is one of those people who is more than willing to sell their shares and allow Rangers to move on in terms of new investment. Arnie C says, until Park is out of Ibrox, nothing will change. Arnie, this is what I've said on multiple occasions. Until the Park family are gone, there is nothing going to change at this football club. The Park family, Douglas Park, Graham Park, are a curse on this football club. Okay, Scott Kearney says here in the live chat, we need King back on the board. At least he told fans what was happening. I think the problem now, Scott, is in terms of the Dave King's things, is that King has kind of, I think, alienated himself through his recent comments. I mean, obviously the comments that King has made in terms of the James Tavernier situation, in terms of the whole, you know, the manager situation, the recruitment situation, all the comments that he's recently made, I don't think are helping in the slightest. I do believe that you know, that is not the best way forward. So I think Dave King needs to sell up as well. Stephen Fay says 100%. Scott, mate, Park is the second biggest shareholder with 2% less than Bennett, has 5% of the club. See, this is the thing, Stephen. I've said to you, like I said, on a number of occasions, mate. Like I said, go back and watch the videos. I've called out the Park family. I've called out John Bennett. You know, Dave King is a shareholder, but he's not on the board. He's not getting involved. He's kind of playing golf and living in South Africa. He's not actually getting really a great deal involved in the club. So for me, the big issues at this club are the Park family, is John Bennett, and until they're gone, nothing's going to get better, is it? Nothing is going to improve the football club. It really genuinely isn't. And like I said, I think we do need a new structure at the club. We need a modern 21st century structure. This club needs to be dragged kicking and screaming into the 21st century. Like I said, a new chairman, new board, a CEO comes in, an actual proper, genuinely proper CEO who can run a proper football club, a big football club. Then a sporting director who oversees the director of recruitment, Niels Koppen, the football board, Craig Robertson, Niels Koppen, all those guys, who oversees the academy, who oversees the manager, the coaching staff, someone who has a big umbrella, but has a way of bringing the club together, of moving the club forward. And I think that's something, that is desperately, desperately in need of it. The other thing I think we do need to start doing in the short term, and this is something that should have been done in 2012. Now, if you go back to 2012, Scott says the reason King is not on the board is the Parks blocked him because they wanted their loans back. Fair enough. I think, like I've said, Scott, and I'll say this until I'm blue in the face. I'll say this until the day they go or the day I die, whichever comes first. The King family need to go. This is the issue. The King family the Park family, need to get out of our football club. Get out of our football club. Leave our football club alone. Go away. We don't want you at the football club anymore. Douglas Park, Graham Park, we don't want you at our football club anymore. You are a curse on our football club. You are a disaster for our football club. Get out of our football club. You're a disgrace. I think that's what we need. That's what we definitely need, is the Park family gone from this club. Right. Airwolf says, if Liverpool can give kids like Bradley, Connor Bradley, obviously he's talking about Harvey Elliott, he's talking about Ben Doak, he's talking about all these kids, a chance, why can't we? Great point. Right, let's move this along a little bit. Thank you, Dado. Let's move this on a little bit. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about this morning in terms of taking this club forward and modernising this club is we need to have a situation where we are using our academy properly. At this moment in time, we are not using our academy effectively. You are having a situation where our young players that are coming through are not seeing a pathway to the first team. Ross McCausland, realistically, is the only player who has consistently had an opportunity from the youth team to come into the first team and make a difference. No one else is getting a fair crack of the whip. For me, there are a number of young players that we need to look at, a number of young players that we need to see. Are they any good? Can they do a job for us? Can they come in and make a difference for us? Are they potential Rangers players of the future? And until we actually start using these young players, putting these young players in a position where we can have a look and see, are these players potential players? Are these potential first team players? Then what can we do? We've got to give a young player a chance. What have we got here? Some comments. We need a football-minded owners who've had experience with running a club. I think part of the problem is we don't have money, no sign of a CEO, etc. I agree with that, Daniel. We do need football-minded owners. We need a football-minded CEO. We need someone with a football operation. Look, you know me. I hate them across the city as much as anybody else, but they are well run. They are very well run. Their board, their CEO, their sporting directors, they are very well run football club. The academy is mince when the last decent player to come out of it. It'd be better with the Motherwell team. At least they produce players that can hold their own in this league, says Grant. Brian Miller says, not being negative, but sick of hearing rebuild. We went to Europa final. We won 55. We should be kicking on, not rebuilding. Club is a joke. The hierarchy have no clue how to run a bath. I agree. 100% agree, mate. Stephen Dixon says, morning, Owen. Totally agree. New board investment required. If this is to happen, we need to make sure that due diligence is done. Remember Craig White? Correct, Stephen. We do 100% on that one. We've got Stephen Fay here coming in with a comment. I think if we get rid of Park and Son, it will be all right, says Stephen. I think if Bennett goes as well, Stephen, that will help. Need owners with a sports franchise background, not Rangers men, as Rangers men ain't working out. This is what I was saying at the start of the podcast. If we can get American owners in who have that sports background and background of running sports franchises over in the States, then I think that will help. Rangers need to buy a football team to put the young lads get first team football. Celtic fans want rid of their board, says William. Yeah, but like I said, Celtic fans are idiots. They are absolute morons. We know that. We know Celtic fans are morons. But, I think the proof of the pudding is in the eating, William. They qualify for the Champions League every year. They've got a football model that works in terms of generating massive income from transfers. They do reinvest money. They run the club responsibly. So for me, Celtic are actually quite well run. Yeah, we need to look at pathways into the first team. We need to look at ways of getting players in. Now, like I said, I honestly believe that we have players in this club at this moment in time that that can actually make a difference to this football club. Morning, Scott. Lovelace, McKinnon, Rice, Fraser, Ncio, Stevens, Finley, Curtis. These are all players that we need to start looking at. We need to start using. We need to start looking at bringing these young players through. Do what Brentford do, Scott. I think Brentford and Brighton are excellent models of football down south. You look at how they run their business, how they run their football operations, in terms of bringing through youth players, in terms of signing young players who then go on to be sold for big prices. I think that is the perfect way to go, mate. I think we do need to be looking at the Brighton model, the Brentford model. Yes, in terms of our club, we are bigger than Brentford. We are bigger than Brighton. We're Manchester City, Manchester United, but unfortunately, we can't run our club like Manchester City, Manchester United, and Liverpool because we are not in that financial position that they are in. We don't have the owners. We don't have the football income. We don't have the inland. We don't have the income stream from the TV deals, the sponsorship deals that they do. So we do need to sort of look at that Brentford and Brighton model. I think that's absolutely 100% spot on. Look, I think for me, like I said, these young players that we've got at the football club, the Lovelaces, the McKinnons, the Rices, the Frasers, the Ncios, the Stevenses, and the Curtises need to be given an opportunity to prove themselves. I honestly feel to this point that they haven't had that opportunity. Clement, when he came in, and over the last few weeks, months, whatever, and over the year he's been in charge, has made a massive thing, hasn't he, of this? I'll give young players a chance. I'm all about young players, and I like to give young players an opportunity. Well, what young players has he actually used? Bailey Rice. Look, Michael Beale's an idiot, but Michael Beale saw a talent in Bailey Rice, played him against Livy. Gay was on the bench. He was brought off the bench on a number of occasions and used on a number of occasions. Yet, have we seen Bailey Rice? Now, I know Bailey Rice has been out injured, but he is now back from injury. He is back from being able to play, yet he is not even getting a look in. Now, what was upsetting, I honestly feel, is why was it that we sat, we were 6-0 up against Ross County and we didn't see Bailey Rice? Why Kieran Dowell over Bailey Rice? What does Kieran Dowell, why do we need to see Kieran Dowell in a game when we were already winning 4-5-0? Why not put Bailey Rice on? Why not see what you've got in Bailey Rice? Now, given the fact that you are that Bailey Rice is a number 6, given the fact that he is a defensive midfield player, given the fact that he is a very positive-minded player, given the fact that he likes to use the ball well, use the ball quickly, push the ball forward, why are we not seeing Bailey Rice given an opportunity to play that 6 role? One thing that you look at, Liverpool last year when they had their injury crisis, they put in Conor Bradley, they put in Harvey Elliott, they put in Ben Doak. They put in young players into their team and gave them a chance. So why are we not seeing that at Rangers? Why are we not seeing these younger players given an opportunity to play? Why are we seeing players put square pegs put in round holes? Why are we seeing that? Bailey Rice is a 6. Cole McKinnon is an 8. Archie Stevens is a left winger. Paul Ncio is a 10. Finley Curtis can play wide. He can play up front. Why are we not seeing these players given a chance to play? Why are we not seeing them at least come off the bench in games? I don't understand that. I really don't get that. When Clement is saying that he wants to give young players a chance, it doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't. My mate Neil McFarlane is a coach of the Brentford youth side. Fantastic, Scott. Be interested to get Neil McFarlane on the show, actually talk about youth development and how they bring through players at Brentford. It just shows what a mess we are in when the St Mirren CEO doesn't want to join you. Airwolf, there's new investment with the same decision makes you plasters over the problems would lead to some bad decisions. I think we do need a complete buy-up. Now Scotland, the 19 coach as well, says Scott. That's Neil McFarlane. Liverpool were throwing kids on in a cup final. Our fans would go ballistic if we did that. Airwolf, I think we need to have a more progressive attitude to this. You look at that. Liverpool won the Carabao Cup, and most of that team that were on the pitch at the end were youth players, were young players. And they won the Carabao Cup. They built a team that cost £1 billion to build. That Chelsea team that played against Liverpool in that cup final cost over £1 billion to build. That's a fact. Because that squad that Chelsea had on that match day, on Carabao Cup day, was worth over £1 billion. Yet Liverpool put out their kids that have come through their academy and they won the cup. So Scott says, great youth should play in a League Cup. Yeah, I think we should be using them. Man City and Liverpool are the best introducing youth who, when then flourish, get sold for millions. Grant, you're right. I mean, you look at Manchester City, Phil Foden, Rico Lewis. These are guys who are coming through and are young players who are getting put in there and learning alongside. And I know we haven't got players of this caliber, but learning alongside the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, Erling Haaland, Rodri, John Stones. You know, players like that, they're learning alongside players like that. And it's got to be beneficial. It really does have to be beneficial for me. So, look, at the end of the day, I really do feel that we need to start using our youth as well. There needs to be more. I mean, one of the things we need to do, and it's part of this modernisation process that I'm talking about this morning, is the use of our youth team, the use of our young players, bringing our young players through, giving our young players the chance and putting them into the squad. How are we ever going to find out if Zach Lovelace, Bailey Rice, Cole McKinnon, Robbie Fraser are good enough if we're not using them? We can talk till we're blue in the face about, well, they're probably not going to be good enough. They're probably not this. How does anybody actually know? Has anyone actually seen them play a series of games for the first team? No. Robbie Fraser has looked good. I mean, if you look at the players that have had a chance and have been unfairly treated, Robbie Fraser, for me, should be, when Ridvan's out, should be playing left back. Hefte should be left wing when Cortez is out. And for me, Robbie Fraser should be left back. Robbie Fraser has been one, end of last season, came on against Dundee, did very well. Started against Hearts, did very well. Has come on this season a couple of times, done very well. Robbie Fraser is a good player. Why is Robbie Fraser not the starting left back when Ridvan's out? I don't get that. That, for me, is a no-brainer. Give the kid a chance. I mean, if you're honestly worried and you honestly feel that Robbie Fraser can't play against Ross County, can't play against St Johnstone, can't play against Dundee, can't play against Dundee United, the kid's got no future with the football club. Really hasn't. You know, you've got Bailey Rice. If that kid, if he can't cope and play well against Ross County, St Johnstone, Hibs, Dundee United, kid's got no future. Same for Cole McKinnon. Same for Zach Lovelace. Why are these guys not getting in? Why are we not giving them a chance? Yeah, William, I actually thought he played all right that day. I think, you know, a lot of the analysts that watched the game thought Robbie Fraser did okay that day. Stephen Fay says here, what about the Chelsea owner takeover? I mean, that's pie in the sky. I mean, Todd Bowley is a very rich guy. We'd have to have Todd Bowley like, you know, Todd Bowley is a guy who's thrown billions at Chelsea, and we can't do that. We can't run the club like that, unfortunately. You know, why are we not giving these young lads a chance? Honestly, I don't understand the reasoning behind it. And it's all part of this modernisation process that we need these youth players being used, being played. And like I said, look at Liverpool, look at Manchester City, look at those clubs down south, Kobe Mainoo at Man United. Look at these young lads that have been brought through and are coping in the first team, that are playing well in the first team. I mean, you ask a lot of Man United fans who was their best player towards the end of last season, and a lot of them will tell you it's Kobe Mainoo. One of England's best players at the Euros. He's an full international now. That kid is a good player. You know, you look at a lot of players. There's young players: Harvey Elliott, Connor Bradley, the lad who's just gone to RB Salzburg. What's he called? Bobby Clark. You know, a lot of these young lads that have come through are going on to have successful careers and are playing very well for their team. Why are we Phil Foden? Why are we not introducing some of these kids into the team? I don't get it. And nobody can sit. You can't sit there and say because they're not good enough. Well, how do you know they're not good enough? Have you seen them play against that? I fundamentally disagree with this whole situation of they're too young, they're too inexperienced. Like I said, if you can't play them against the likes of St Johnstone, Hibs, Dundee United, Ross County, then you've got problems because those teams are shit. Honestly, those teams are shit. We saw how shit Ross County were when we beat them 6-0. They were awful. I could have put 11 fans out there who probably could have beaten Ross County. Hibs are shit this season. Dundee, not great. St Johnstone, shit as always. We've seen that. So for me, we've got to start seeing the youth use. You've got to see more of a pathway from academy to first team. Archie Stevens, Paul Uncio, Finley Curtis, top players, guys, top players. Go and watch some B team games. Go and watch some under 18 games. Go and watch these kids perform. They're good footballers, very good footballers. Archie Stevens is a player who's apparently been looked at by top Premier League clubs. So, these are not mugs. I mean, the likes of Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester United, who are looking at them, are not going to be looking at crap players. So, at the end of the day, if Stevens has been looked at by Arsenal, if he's been looked at by Manchester United, he's not a bad player. Airwolf says, what are the costs to run this so-called academy? And that's another thing. You've got a situation where if you're pumping millions into the academy, into the youth academy, why are we not using it? Why are we not bringing players through? Doesn't make sense. You've got experience sitting on the bench. Correct. You don't get yet. You've got to start playing them. Absolutely, Arnie. This is going to keep happening until we start to beat Celtic regularly. The fans know the league is unwinnable because nobody else in the league will take anything off Celtic unless complacency sets in. Correct, John. We've got to start beating them, and we've got to start using these young players as well to bring them through. And I think you'd find another thing. Bailey Rice, Cole McKinnon, Robbie Fraser, etc., are players that will have more heart, more fight than a lot of those first team players, those so-called first team players, because they'll want to win that shirt. They'll want to play for the club. A lot of those lads are Rangers fans. A lot of those lads want to play for us. A lot of those lads will give everything. And there's something just a little bit extra special, isn't there, about seeing someone who's come through your academy, a youth product play, even over a £6 to £10 million signing for me. Michael White says, why can't we play the youngsters against the lesser teams? And if they struggle, bring on the big guns. Correct. This is a good shout, Michael. I don't get why we are not using Bailey Rice, especially when we're crying out for a 6. Bailey Rice is a fucking 6. Use him as a 6. I don't get it. Genuinely don't get Clement's logic behind this. Right, guys, that is it for this morning. Thank you for watching. Grant says, I think against everyone other than that mob, we should be starting at least 2 academy players and give them a run of 5 to 10 games. You'll get a real feel for where they're at. Agreed, Grant. Why are we not seeing Fraser, Rice, McKinnon, Lovelace, NCO, Stevens, these players for a run of games against the poorer teams? Don't get it. Don't understand it. That's what we need to be doing. It's just a fact, an absolute fact. Right, guys, thank you for watching, guys. That is it for this morning. We'll be back later. So we have the members Q&A. That's at 1 o'clock. So if you're a member of the channel, which is only cost 99p a month, guys, less than a cup of coffee, 99p a month, join the channel, become a member. Members Q&A this afternoon at 1 p.m. This evening, we have a full podcast open to everyone. That's at 8 o'clock tonight. So come and join us for that. Obviously, look out for any other videos that come out during the day as well. Thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. As always, on the way out, please smash that like, sub to the channel, drop me a comment, and remember always, we are the people.